Step 6, flexibility. Now this is something that you might not stop to consider initially, but is critically important when you are looking for that next job. You know what you want in terms of work, but be open to different offers. Sometimes you might go in and you perhaps want a job as a mechanic, but the company might say to you, we're setting up a mobile mechanics division, we'd like you to drive one of our vans and drive all over Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane, Adelaide, wherever you might be located, rather than working in a workshop. You'll still have the job you want, but you'll have a slightly different way of it being organised. So be flexible and open to different offers, things that might be a little bit off the norm that you're looking for. Be prepared to travel. As I've indicated before, we like to try and work close to home. The older we get, the less we'd like to travel. But at the end of the day, if you get a great job offer or the job that you'd really like to do, but you've got to travel a little bit for it, then be prepared to make that effort and travel for work. Again, you need to weigh up the costs of getting to and from work, the time involved, as well as the expense, whether it's public transport fares or fuel and maintenance on your vehicle. But remember, there are lots of people who live in remote regions, people on the Gold Coast who travel to Brisbane for work, people in the outer suburbs of Melbourne down in the Dandenongs who go to Melbourne for work, people in the west of Sydney and the Central Coast or Wollongong who travel to Sydney for work, and so on and so forth. So if it's the right job opportunity, be flexible, be prepared to travel. Be prepared to be trained. When Plus 40 first launched in 2005, we commissioned some research and we found that 66% of mature age workers, those people over 40, were prepared to take on some training in new skills or additional skills. And of those 66%, a further 67% were prepared to pay for the training themselves. So we know that you are keen to be trained if it enhances your skills in order to work. So you might have to train in a slightly different skill or an additional area in order to create the flexibility that allows you to get that job. So don't resist training, utilize it. Remember, when an employer is prepared to train you, they are investing in you, and that is a good thing. That means they want you to train and improve and perform better for them, which means they want you to stay. Be prepared to do something new. Sometimes out of the blue, somebody might say, you know what, I've looked at your resume, and yes, I can see where you're in admin and support work, but I think you've got some great skills there in graphic design. We need somebody who can design our promotional material for us. It might be something that you've never done full-time, but you have actually done a little bit of, so be prepared to do something new. Be prepared to take a little change in direction in terms of the type of role you might be asked to do. And be prepared to do things differently. I remember as a young lad learning the lesson very early that, we do things this way at home. People do things differently, and in the workplace in particular, you might work for 2 or 3 companies in the same industry who all make the same product, but they may have different ways of manufacturing or handling or storing or distributing those products. They may have different ways of recording their information, their invoicing processes, and so on. So be prepared to do things a different way. When I went through university, we used to talk about the 3 ways of doing things: the right way, the wrong way, and the university way. So there are always different ways to do things, and be prepared to learn from others or help others learn from you when you bring your skills from previous experience on board. Again, one of the things that we do need to think about is be prepared to take an entry-level job. I remember when we were all young and starting out, either out of school or out of university, we had to take an entry-level job because we had no job experience. Sometimes even with experience these days, people are looking for somebody at an entry-level job, and that might be the best opportunity you're going to have offered to you in the short term. Take the entry-level job. It can often open the door for you once you're in the organisation and they can see what skills and abilities you have. It will open the door to further opportunities for you when they recognise how much value you're adding to the workplace. So sometimes it may seem like a step backwards, but sometimes you take 1 step back to move 2 steps forward. So again, make sure you're prepared to take that. As I've said, once you're in, you prove your value. So flexibility is the key. How can we get in the door so that we can prove the skills that we've got and the value that we can add? Once you've done that, it will open the door to progression within the company. And always remember, try and keep a positive mindset and use that flexibility so that you consider that there are opportunities, not problems. Some people talk about challenges, others talk about problems. I always talk about opportunities. If there's a challenge or a problem set in front of you, it's an opportunity to prove the skills and abilities you've got in order to get around that particular situation. So look for the opportunities and be prepared to be flexible.